From the Great Northwoods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, a Bangor man is found guilty of murdering his friend during a night of heavy drinking. We'll have a story coming up. Plus, Border Patrol agents have arrested migrant workers in the Skowhegan area, sparking some controversy there. And a special meeting was held in Bangor last night to discuss the state of parking in the downtown area. We'll have that story as well. Good morning and happy Friday, everyone. I'm Craig Colson. Janessa Bishop has the day off. We'll have all the day's news coming up, including some special guests will join us to tell us about a special wellness fair that will be held in Bangor that local women may want to check out. That's coming up a little later on in the broadcast. But first, to check out the forecast. It's a beautiful morning out there. Lots of sunshine today. Temperatures are going to get up around right around freezing, which will be comfortable for this time of year. And then we'll have even warmer temperatures as we head into the weekend. All right, let's kick things off by turning things over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Happy Friday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center, now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Alrighty, here we go. We have a small craft advisory that will be expiring this morning as wave heights will begin to calm down. As we do move forward, pretty quiet outside this morning, and it will be a calm one out there. Lots of sunshine. You may notice a few passing clouds, especially farther off toward the north. Otherwise, as we do zoom things out, a little bit of energy moving in from Canada into parts of the northeast. Otherwise, any activity is farther down toward the south at this moment in time. Futurecast moving forward, lots of sunshine today, some clouds to the north. Will be mostly clear to maybe partly cloudy tonight, but any more clouds will move in as we head towards your Saturday. Slight chance for rain and snow as we head towards your Saturday as well. But meanwhile, some gusty winds, not today though. Today, rather calm one. You may notice a quick gust up to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, not bad. The winds really pick up tomorrow up to around 30 to 35 miles per hour. As for your hourly forecast moving forward, here we go. Lots of sunshine today and temperatures warming up into the lower 30s. Not bad at all. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig?
All right, thank you, Devin. We'll look forward to that. Well, first this morning, a Bangor man has been found guilty of murder in the 2024 death of his friend. Gary Brinson was found guilty by a jury on Thursday morning. He was accused of killing his friend Lee Rayona after an alleged night of heavy drinking on or around December 2nd, 2024 at his apartment on Union Street in Bangor. The trial only lasted for a couple of days this week. Brinson is now set to be sentenced on the afternoon of April 14th. Meanwhile, a man from New York is facing charges after allegedly pulling a gun on Fairfield police. Authorities say it happened just before 4:30 Thursday afternoon when police responded to a report of a disturbance and an assault on Main Street. They say 28-year-old Tashawn Washington of Brooklyn, New York, took off on foot and pulled a pistol from his waistband while being chased by police. He was eventually found in a wooded area down by the river and was taken into custody. Washington is now facing a long list of charges, including criminal threatening with a dangerous weapon, assault, and refusing to submit to arrest. Meanwhile, a Vassalboro man is in custody following a months-long investigation into drug trafficking. According to the Maine Drug Enforcement Agency, agents had been investigating suspected drug trafficking from a home on Weber Pond Road in Vassalboro for the past 8 months. On Wednesday, agents learned that 24-year-old Edward Lawrence of Vassalboro was coming back to Maine, allegedly carrying a large amount of drugs. And at around 8 p.m. on Wednesday night, troopers stopped Lawrence on 295 North in West Gardner. But as troopers approached the vehicle, drug agents say Lawrence took off. Police disabled the vehicle, and they say Lawrence then fled on foot but was apprehended with help of a K-9 unit. His vehicle was searched, and drug agents say they found 2,000 grams of cocaine, along with more than $1,000 in suspected drug proceeds. Lawrence now faces multiple charges, including aggravated drug trafficking, eluding an officer, and more. He's being held at the Kennebec County Jail. For a second time in 2 weeks, Border Patrol agents have detained migrant workers outside of Skowhegan on their way to work for an indoor tomato grower in Madison. As Brad Rogers learned, some of those taken into custody are now separated from their children.
Border Patrol agents have now twice targeted this old motel, now owned by Backyard Farms, used to house migrant workers and their families.
What they've been doing is coming here, kind of trolling around at the motel that Backyard Farms owns, and then about 10 minutes from Backyard Farms, they were pulled over.
Maureen Calder, co-founder of Mainers for Humane Immigration, believes Backyard Farms is being targeted simply because they're one of the largest employers of migrant workers.
Do you feel like they're being detained illegally?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, definitely. There's no reason for them to take them, and they have work permits.
And they need H-2A visas up here to do agricultural work. So why don't we just give people these visas and let them come and work?
Ivar Luffing knew many of the workers who have been detained and says they are being held in Texas. Border Patrol agents have yet to provide us any information about the detainees. But Luffing says these migrant workers are hardly the worst of the worst.
I think it's awful because, they came here to work. They're certainly not criminals in any way, shape, or form. Everybody I've met have been hardworking, decent, honest people.
Maureen Calder says some of the detained migrants were in the process of becoming citizens.
Hopefully we'll find out some more information.
Now they are separated from their spouses and children.
One individual at the motel had a 3-year-old with her, and so the 3-year-old was able to stay with an older sibling. What I want to know is, what is Backyard Farms doing in order to protect these people?
She says migrants are now refusing to work at the farm over fears of arrest.
They should be welcomed and guaranteed a safe stay while they're here.
Backyard Farms, its Canadian-owned parent company, and the Michigan company that supplied the migrant workers all declined our request for comment.
And that was Brad Rogers reporting. In other news this morning, members of Maine's National Guard are heading to Rhode Island to help with the storm recovery effort. The area received as much as 3 feet of snow during this week's blizzard, and that's why 24 Maine soldiers, along with 10 dump trucks, are heading that way to help haul snow from public places. According to the Bangor Daily News, it's part of an emergency management assistance response plan that allows states to help each other during natural disasters and emergencies. Senator Susan Collins took to the floor to urge her fellow lawmakers to support bipartisan legislation that could mean eliminating a potentially harmful waiting period for those applying for Social Security disability benefits. The bill is called the We Can't Wait Act. Senator Collins introduced the bill yesterday along with Democratic Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire. The SSDI program provides eligible people with benefits if they become disabled and unable to work. The proposed bill would allow claimants to begin receiving benefits immediately after approval rather than waiting 5 months in exchange for a small reduction in their monthly benefit amount. A claimant could also choose to endure the waiting period and receive the full benefit amount. Senator Collins said on the floor yesterday that the 5-month waiting period can pose a serious risk to someone who has fallen ill or is injured and in need of medical care.
While this reform is carefully targeted, its impact, Mr. President, would be profound. It would end the tragic reality in which Americans with disabilities suffer and in some cases die during an unnecessary 5-month delay after their disability has been officially certified by the Social Security Administration.
Meanwhile, the demand on Maine's county corrections facilities has changed, officials say its state of funding has not. Penobscot County Sheriff Troy Morton and others spoke at the State House this week, requesting lawmakers approve the recommended funding they need. Doug Banks has more.
We're trying to solve those long-term problems, but that short-term problem is now, and it is not going away. And the only way to solve that is for the state to step up.
Wednesday, before the Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs, officials urged lawmakers to approve the county commissioner's funding request of $4 million for fiscal year 2026 and $8 million for next fiscal year. According to Penobscot County Sheriff Troy Morton, The supplemental budget does not adequately address the needs of the county correctional system, a system hampered by cost drivers that he says are out of the county's control, including a backlogged judicial system and a state mental health system lacking appropriate capacity.
The tax caps that are in place are a challenge for the county. The costs continue to come back to property taxpayers.
That local property tax, Sheriff Morton told us on Thursday, equals around 75% of funding for the county jail. A contrast to most other county facilities across the country, which he says are not solely funded by property taxes, but rather through sin taxes, like marijuana, liquor, and gambling.
We need to be able to figure out a better way to fund this and not solely on the backs of property taxpayers alone.
For Penobscot County specifically, County Commissioner's Chair Andre Cushing told lawmakers the county has had to recoup a $3.5 million jail deficit that's also been carried over for almost 5 years.
And that is because the cap limits how much we can get from the property taxpayer, and the flat funding from the state leaves a delta that we have absorbed through our revenues. And that is just not, as you've heard, a sustainable model.
Doug Banks reporting for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Maine House Democrats shared an update on the progress of a package of bills that they call the Lower Cost, Stronger Communities Policy Package. The package was introduced at the start of the legislative session in January. Maine House Speaker Ryan Fecteau spoke about LD 2208, a bill that he is spearheading that seeks to offset federal cuts in health insurance for Maine seniors and families. That bill was slated for a public hearing and takes aim at a number of issues.
It will protect existing services and bring back others, like maternity care at our hospitals. The bill will provide funding to supplement DHHS Department of Health and Human Services work to strengthen our rural health care system, establish a state-funded insurance subsidy for CoverMe.gov to make up for the loss of federal subsidy ended by Congress.
The bill also sets up a fund to respond to federal cuts that affect the Maine Care program. Another bill in the package that passed in committee last week seeks to make it easier to get vaccines and eliminate vaccine copays for those on state-regulated health care plans. President Donald Trump called out the state of Maine in his State of the Union address on Tuesday night, and Maine Republicans are responding to that. The call out came as the president was addressing alleged claims of fraud, specifically in immigrant communities, announcing a war on fraud that will be led by Vice President J.D. Vance. This did not come as a shock to Maine House Republican leader Billy Bob Falkingham, who says he has been waiting for this, as he and other Republicans have repeatedly called for a larger investigation into how the state of Maine uses its money.
They should be able to answer with transparency and get to the bottom of this. I think that right there is why the federal government has to come and fix this mess, because the state of Maine has not done its job. It has not handled the money correctly. It has not administered its programs correctly. Fraud has run rampant.
And we will certainly keep you up to date as that investigation unfolds. The time now is 8:13. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, Bangor officials are listening to questions and concerns about parking in the downtown area. We'll take you to a meeting that was held last night to discuss possible solutions. But first, another look at the forecast. A sunny day lies ahead today with highs around 32 degrees. Partly cloudy tonight with lows dropping down to the upper teens. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with just a chance of a passing snow or rain shower. The highs tomorrow right around 44. We'll be right back.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing. Tired of worrying whether your credit will hold you back from getting a car? At Down East Credit Union, we believe everyone deserves reliable transportation, even with less than perfect credit. Let us guide you every step of the way. If your credit score is under 670 or you've had setbacks like bankruptcy or repossession, that doesn't mean you're out of options. We'll help you get pre-approved, guide you through car shopping, and work with you on a plan to rebuild your credit. Reach out to Down East Credit Union today. Let's get you on the road confidently.
Dedication, teamwork, and passion has driven your team to the state championships. Now it's time to cheer them on. Coastal Auto Parts has what you need to get to the big game. Good luck to all the teams. Downey's Community Hospital and Calais Community Hospital are wishing the Machias boys basketball team the best of luck at the state championships. Your hard work, heart, and teamwork have made us all proud. Go Bulldogs! Bring home that title.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
Every year, communities recognize outstanding service with the Spirit of America Foundation Tribute. Do you know a local person or group that goes above and beyond for others? Nominate them today by contacting a select person, city, or town councilor. Help honor those who make a difference where you live. For more information, visit spiritofamerica.website.
What began as a routine night for a Maine mom ended with a surprise delivery on the side of an I-95 during a snowstorm. Hannah Ariel of South Paris began having contractions early Saturday morning and began heading to the hospital with her husband. But the baby, well, it had other plans. They were about halfway to the hospital when it became clear that they wouldn't make it. Ariel says they pulled over during a snowstorm as the baby began making its way out. Her husband and a 911 operator helped deliver the baby on the side of the interstate before they continued to the hospital. Less than a week later, the mom of 8 is back home with her family and a brand new daughter named Rosalina. Congratulations to them. Well, folks in Bangor held a workshop last night to determine the community's general consensus around parking in the downtown district. Our Callie Warren with that story.
I was lucky enough to find a pretty good parking spot for this meeting right in front of the public library, but as a lot of folks in Bangor will tell you, that's not always how the situation works out. The city of Bangor is hoping to address concerns and questions around downtown parking. At a meeting Thursday evening, they listened to locals who offered their thoughts on the status quo. If you could sum up parking in Bangor in like a word or a sentence, what would you say?
Not the worst, but not the best. I remember when parking was all just parallel parking, and then several years ago, they made it the diagonal parking, and I despise it because I can't see behind the person that I'm parking beside. So I always feel like it's a little tricky and my life might be on the line.
Those on the city's planning board and parking committee say they often hear people express that there's a lack of parking in downtown Bangor.
A lot of people like to park on the street, and I know that there's been a lot of frustration expressed with not being able to find parking along the street.
But a study done last year revealed there's an excess of parking in the downtown district when all options, including parking garages and paid parking sites, are considered.
Overall, they did find that we have more parking spaces than we have demand for.
The city is working to collect and address safety and convenience concerns around parking. For information on how to submit your thoughts, visit this story on our website.
We all want Bangor to succeed. Parking is just one component of that.
In Bangor, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
For those who've wanted to make a trip to the coastal city of Belfast, this will be a great weekend to do so. Starting today, the annual Ice Festival kicks off there. The weekend-long festival combines winter-themed creativity with over 25 pop-up ice sculptures and community spirit, with many downtown businesses participating in unique events. The festival will also feature the long-awaited return of the State of Maine Ice Carving Championship. That'll be fun to watch. It will also kick off with the first Frost and Flannel Ice Ball tonight. It'll take place from 6 until 10 p.m. at the Belfast Boathouse. They were kind of advertising it as saying wear your favorite ball gown, maybe match it with your bean boots or your flannels, and that's kind of the theme of tonight's big ball. Should be a lot of fun. All right, the time now is 8:19. Coming up after the break, tension continues to build with Iran as the U.S. raises the pressure to give up its nuclear program. We'll have the latest, and we'll also hear about a new training program at Thomas College that prepares students for the workforce ahead. All the details right after this.
What happens when our kids grow up talking to AI instead of real people? When their teacher is a chatbot, their counselor an algorithm? AI is being designed to replace us, but it doesn't share our values, and the companies building it don't know how to make it safe. Learn more at protectwhat'shuman.org.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
What matters more? A bank with innovative products or one that cares for the community? At Bangor Savings Bank, we think it's both because our innovation helps customers build stronger credit, earn rewards when shopping local, give teens independence and financial experience, and simplify business with local solutions. So what matters more? You.
A little winter weather never stopped Old George or Toyota from offering incredible savings to celebrate his birthday on vehicles from the longest-lasting brand at the Toyota Washington's Birthday Savings Event. You could get a $269 a month lease on an all-wheel drive Corolla Cross SUV with a total contract cost of $15,020. Plus, get 2 years no-cost maintenance. Come get your savings in honor of Old George at your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
From clinics to classrooms, even in therapy and romance, AI is being designed to replace us. But the most important intelligence is human. It's the values we pass down and the connections we make with one another. That should never be replaced. Learn more at protectwhat'shuman.org.
A new initiative out of Thomas College is aiming to bridge the gap between education and industry, strengthening Maine's workforce through an on-site training and development model. Our Grace Blanchard shares more.
Thomas College in Waterville is transforming showrooms into classrooms through a new partnership with Central Maine Motors.
The traditional higher ed model is one that we create the class and people come to campus to take it or take it online. This flips that model, is that we are actually going to businesses to deliver the content there on site.
The partnership marks the official launch of the college's new Corporate Campus Initiative, an employer-focused professional development model that offers customized workforce training for businesses and organizations.
Our program is unique in that we're really focused on what do employers in Maine need and how can we help build the talent pipeline and support that growth for employers in Maine.
In January, the college delivered customer service and leadership training to 35 Central Maine Motors employees at the company's facilities. Members of the company's team say these efforts are critical to tackling an ever-changing marketplace.
We all know the environment changes, people change, the times change, and being able to have those pieces to kind of make sure we're able to change with those times and adapt to that has been really helpful.
Every generation brings something a little different, right, to the table, and I think this understanding of what people bring for strengths will certainly help bridge some of those generational gaps.
By supporting Maine's workforce, the college hopes to set their own students up for further post-grad success.
Many of our students are from Maine and they continue to work in Maine after they graduate. And we like to maintain and build and grow the infrastructure and economy that's here for Maine students, for Maine residents.
In Waterville, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
That's a beautiful day today. Tomorrow will be even warmer. Let's turn things back over to Devin for a full look at your forecast.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center, now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Alrighty, here we go. A small craft advisory will be expiring this morning along the coast as wave heights will begin to back off moving forward. Let's check out the wave heights right now. Still a little bit active at around 3 to 5 feet, while further off towards the north and east, still a little bit higher according toward the contours. Further out towards sea, a little bit higher at around 7 to even 10 feet at this moment in time. Meanwhile, on land, very quiet out there, and we'll see a lot of sunshine today. You may notice some clouds further off towards the north. We have a little bit of energy into Canada at this point. You can see that right there. That will send some clouds into the northern parts of the state. Meanwhile, some activity in the southern U.S. causing some showers and thunderstorms to develop. But futurecast for us, here we go. Sunshine today. Some clouds to the north. Farther down toward the south, it tries to get some clouds going for us. Not out of the realm of possibility, but otherwise mostly clear overnight. As we head towards tomorrow, the winds pick up. We'll have clouds passing through. Slight chance for rain and snow throughout the afternoon period. On Saturday, it will not be a huge deal. We'll get that out of here pretty quickly, and then by Saturday night, some more clouds passing through, but otherwise, again, not a huge deal. Wind will not be a huge problem today or tonight, but tomorrow the winds will be picking up. We'll have gusty winds picking up to about 30 to even 35 miles per hour at times, so definitely a windy one as we move forward by that time period. But for today, we have low 30s. Enjoy that sunshine today with that light southwest breeze at about 5 miles per hour. Overnight, 17 degrees. Will be partly cloudy with that south wind at about 5 miles per hour. And then we move ahead towards tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a slight chance for rain and snow. And then that southwest wind at about 5 to even 10 miles per hour. Okay, let's check things out with your extended forecast. And again, Friday, again, mostly sunny, highs in the low 30s. And again, tomorrow we'll start off with that southwest wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Really getting windy with that gusty wind up to around 35 miles per hour later on, with a slight chance for rain and snow, boosting temperatures into the mid 40s, upper 20s coming up Sunday with a chance for snow. Monday, mostly sunny. And then Tuesday, another chance for snow.
Find your perfect getaway game plan at Quirk Hyundai in Bangor. Kona handles with precision on the road. Lease for only $296 per month. Or go for the shutout on interest with 0% financing on Tucson. It's your Hyundai. Find it at Quirk.
Every year for the rest of my life, and maybe yours too.
A sharp pain in his chest. He knew it was his heart, but 2 hours from the big city hospital could tragically mean the end. But it wasn't. Thanks to Senator Susan Collins' tireless fight for Maine's rural hospitals. Because of Senator Collins' work, his local hospital had recently received up-to-date diagnostic equipment and upgraded facilities, all paid for with new federal funding. Lives are being saved. Call and thank our Senator Susan Collins for delivering this lifeline for Maine.
You know Matt pretty well. Did he give you any advice?
He said that I should use 26 words or more.
When every word counts.
Trash panda.
Raccoon.
You hand me a trash panda. That was gangster.
It pays to choose wisely.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You just won it!
25 words or less every weekday.
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
Score big during Truck Month at Quirk Ram. Ram Bighorn is a winter powerhouse, leased for $439 a month. Or get elite performance with Jeep Grand Cherokee, leased for $379 a month. It's your Ram, it's your Jeep. Find it at Quirk in Bangor and Belfast.
Now to the latest on the U.S.-Iran talks underway in Geneva about Iran's nuclear and ballistic missiles program. It comes as top military commanders brief the president on military options. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has more.
This morning, the high-stakes negotiations in Geneva between the United States and Iran have wrapped up for now without a deal, raising concerns about the imminent risk of war. Iranian state television is reporting that Iran is not prepared to meet President Trump's demands to stop enriching uranium. The White House previously said it would accept nothing short of a full stop for Tehran's uranium enrichment efforts. ABC's Ian Pannell breaking down one of the major sticking points.
A U.S. official confirming to ABC News before the talks that Iran is offering to suspend its enrichment of uranium, but for a limited period. Iran's still insisting it has a right to a peaceful nuclear program, with Iran saying there are going to be more talks next week in Vienna, what they call technical talks.
The administration has not yet committed to those talks. President Trump has threatened military action against Iran if there is no deal. ABC News now learning the top U.S. commander in the Middle East briefed President Trump on Thursday on potential military options in Iran, according to a person close to the president. Iran has long denied wanting a bomb and says it would continue to show flexibility.
I think if there is no breakthrough in this round, which is very decisive, then it could be interpreted as a breakdown. Given given the U.S. military posture in the region, I think the risk of war would go up significantly as early as this weekend.
And Vice President Vance tells the Washington Post that while military strikes against Iran are under consideration, there's no chance the U.S. will become involved in a years-long Middle Eastern war. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
Now to a developing story. The U.S. military reportedly using a laser to shoot down a border protection drone over Texas. Members of Congress are now raising the alarm about this, and it comes just weeks after the airspace around El Paso, Texas, was suddenly closed, sparking confusion and chaos. Nicole D'Antonio also has that report.
Overnight, concern and outrage after a group of congressmen announced the Department of Defense mistakenly shot down a Customs and Border Protection drone near El Paso, Texas, prompting the FAA to restrict flights in the area around Fort Hancock.
For the Department of Defense to shoot down a Customs and Border Protection drone would demonstrate a shocking breakdown in air domain awareness.
In a joint statement, 3 Democratic congressmen saying, "Our heads are exploding over the news." They claim the Trump administration has sidestepped a bill that would have trained drone operators and improved communication between government agencies, including the FAA and Homeland Security. But the administration says it's working to mitigate drone threats by Mexican cartels and foreign terrorist organizations at the U.S.-Mexico border, and insist the engagement took place far away from populated areas, and there were no commercial aircraft in the vicinity.
In geographic areas where military and civilian law enforcement aircraft are working together, there's always good communication and coordination. So it's unclear to me why at the southern border right now that type of coordination doesn't exist.
Earlier this month, an anti-drone laser was deployed by Border Patrol without FAA coordination. That prompted the temporary closure of airspace over El Paso. One source said the laser was fired at a balloon, while the administration said it was fired at a Mexican cartel drone.
I don't want to hear the spin. I don't want to hear the cover-up. I want to hear the facts. We saw how the lack of coordination between the FAA and the Department of Defense can lead to widespread confusion.
No, I don't think there's a lack of communication. We all know each other well, and we all communicate well.
And Senator Tammy Duckworth, a Democrat on the Aviation Subcommittee, calls the drone shoot-down alarming. She's demanding an independent investigation. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
And another big story you'll be hearing about later on today concerns former President Bill Clinton. He'll be testifying in a deposition before a House committee concerning the Epstein case. Yesterday, Hillary Clinton also testified before that same committee. We'll have more on that later on today. Meanwhile, when we come back on the second half of the newscast, we'll visit a special career fair held at Hudson University yesterday that's helping students there consider their options. Those stories and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Want to save $1,000? Switch to Spectrum and we guarantee you will. Seriously, you can hold us to it. Switch to Spectrum fiber-powered internet and 2 mobile lines for just $30 a month each. That's $1,000 in real savings in your first year, guaranteed. Or we'll cover the difference. We call it the Spectrum Savings Guarantee. So call this number now, switch, and save $1,000 on internet and mobile. It's a guaranteed no-brainer.
Come in and visit AMHG Works, Bangor's #1 gift shop, located at 36 Springer Drive in the Rennie's Plaza. We have special gifts for you. your furry companion, and that special someone you are in need of a gift for. It's worth a trip in for unique American-made gifts. Here at AMHG Works, everything is American-made, and we are open 7 days a week for your convenience. American-made home goods. We look forward to seeing you.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Friday, February 27th, 2026, and this is also International Stand Up to Bullying Day. This special day aims to create empathy and end bullying and harassment. It's observed by schools, workplaces, and organizations in more than 25 countries. Bullying, of course, can have a lasting impact on a person's psyche, and that's why it's important to recognize instances of bullying and then put an end to it. And of course, it all starts at home. All right, it's time for some history. It was on this day in history back in 1827, a group of masked and costumed students danced through the streets of New Orleans to mark the beginning of the city's famous Mardi Gras celebrations. In 1951 on this date, the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution was ratified. It limits a president to 2 terms in office. In 1980, Gloria Gaynor received a Grammy for her song I Will Survive, which was named the best disco recording ever. And in 1973, members of the American Indian movement occupied the hamlet of Wounded Knee, South Dakota. It was the site of the 1890 massacre of Sioux women and children and had become one of the poorest communities in the nation. They took hostages and remained in a standoff with police for 2 months while demanding an investigation into the Bureau of Indian Affairs and hearings on the scores of Indian treaties that were broken by the U.S. government. In 1991 on this date, President George H.W. Bush declared that Operation Desert Storm had ended, saying Kuwait is liberated and the Iraqi army is defeated. And finally, in 2019, the world's smallest baby was finally released from a Japanese hospital following its birth. The little boy weighed a little less than 9.5 ounces at 24 weeks, and he was discharged after spending 5 months in the hospital. What a little cutie. Today's birthdays include singer Josh Groban, who is 45 today, actress Kate Mara turns 43, and Academy Award-winning actress Joanne Woodward, turning 96 years old today. How about that? Happy birthday to you also, if your birthday is today. You'll certainly have great weather for it, a sunny day today, and then warmer temperatures tomorrow. Here's Devin with your forecast.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Happy Friday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center, now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Alrighty, here we go. We have a small craft advisory that will be expiring this morning as wave heights will begin to calm down. As we do move forward, pretty quiet outside this morning, and it will be a calm one out there. Lots of sunshine. You may notice a few passing clouds, especially farther off toward the north. Otherwise, as we do zoom things out, a little bit of energy moving in from Canada into parts of the northeast. Otherwise, any activity is farther down toward the south at this moment in time. Futurecast moving forward, lots of sunshine today. Some clouds to the north will be mostly clear to maybe partly cloudy tonight, but any more clouds will move in as we head towards your Saturday. Slight chance for rain and snow as we head towards your Saturday as well. But meanwhile, some gusty winds, not today though. Today, rather calm one. You may notice a quick gust up to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, not bad. The winds really pick up tomorrow up to around 30 to 35 miles per hour. As for your hourly forecast moving forward, here we go. Lots of sunshine today and temperatures warming up into the lower 30s. Not bad at all. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig?
Employers and aspiring employees filed into Husson University's Newman Gymnasium on Thursday for a spring career fair. The university holds a career fair once per semester. The one Thursday featured a variety of employers ranging from local businesses to healthcare, including Bangor Savings Bank and Chinbro. Those we spoke with say events like this one provide students with an opportunity to learn what their interests are.
Some get offers on the spot today. Some have been interacting with these employers on an ongoing basis, and some this is their first time meeting today. And so we will educate them and encourage them to follow up and formally apply and then help them succeed in their interviews.
I'm very excited for the journey I've had here. So that's the best thing about it so far, and I'm excited to see what the future is.
According to the university, an estimated 70 employers participated in this year's Spring Career Fair at Hudson University. And still ahead this morning, Max Stern will have all the day's sports news, and some special guests will join us to tell us about a wellness fair that will soon be held in Bangor that local women may want to check out themselves. The details when we come back.
Purple Coat Bangor is open and ready for business. Jump into the best products, pricing, and customer service in town. Join a growing community with monthly events, art and music nights, daily specials, and plenty of good vibes. Located at 431 Audlin Road, right off of 395. Stop by and check us out today.
No. I'm in my own head.
What the heck are you talking about?
I think I got away with something that I shouldn't have. See that brand new Hyundai Santa Fe?
Yeah.
I only paid.
Finish that bucket on your own. Practice makes perfect.
Enjoy your new car.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Deal so right, it almost feels wrong. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event.
Lease an all-wheel drive Hyundai Santa Fe SE for $319 a month, or get 0% APR plus 0 payments for 90 days. Hurry in.
Poor insulation is the origin of your heating and cooling complications. We are Dr. Energy Saver by TC Hafford Basement Systems. We are the local energy saving experts. We identify the problem areas and provide customized solutions that leave your home comfortable and your energy bills affordable. Whether it's a drafty attic or poorly sealed ductwork, we have your back and more. Financing is available. For a no-cost, no-obligation estimate, call Dr. Energy Saver by TC Hafford Basement Systems. We fix uncomfortable homes.
You provide it all. There's no challenge you can't take on, because you've already taken on everything. You've gone above and beyond. It feels like you've brought them together. It feels like your home is taken care of. It feels like you're all at the top of your game with high-speed, reliable, no-stress Fidium fiber internet.
It feels like Fidium.
Purple Coat Bangor is open and ready for business. Jump into the best products, pricing, and customer service in town. Join a growing community with monthly events, art and music nights, daily specials, and plenty of good vibes. Located at 431 Audlin Road, right off of 395. Stop by and check us out today.
Top-ranked Michigan.
Can you believe this?
Takes on Keaton Wagler and number 10 Illinois. Fox College Hoops Friday tips off at 8 Eastern.
Welcome back in, everyone. We'll kick off our sports block by highlighting the Mattinock girls basketball team, who are just one win away from completing the perfect season. Have a look.
This is MA history, so it's so exciting.
It's not often that a team finishes a full season without a single loss in the regular or postseason. But despite the difficulty, this reality is one the Mattinock girls basketball team is just one win away from achieving. What makes this run even more special is up until this point, the Lady Lynx have never appeared in a state title game, an opportunity the team is extremely grateful for.
It's just amazing to be the first team to do it, and we've all been playing together since we were little. So, it's just been super amazing to do it together.
Oh, it's extremely exciting. We're happy to obviously get here, but understand that there's a whole week of work to do, and you get this opportunity, you want to make the most of it. And the girls are very excited, the community is very excited, and we're very thankful for that.
This chance at history is not only thrilling for the players, but is something they know means a whole lot to the community that supports them.
The community's been really great this whole season, and it was really awesome when we won that regional championship for them. You saw us do the hearts to the crowd, so it was really special because, we are here because of them. The community throughout my 4 years has been outstanding. They've shown up every tournament game, home games, even when it's not a big game, they really show out. So to be able to bring a gold ball home would just mean so much.
Standing in their way is a tough Class C South opponent in Spruce Mountain. But the Lynx have found a surefire way to win every single game thus far, by playing their game.
We've watched some of their games. We kind of know what they're going to try to do probably. And just doing what we do best and working together. It's just trusting what we have, trusting our role players, getting out there, playing defense, rebounding, and hopefully getting out in transition a little bit.
And the biggest improvement is their poise and their confidence and the understanding of, hey, we might have 2 bad possessions, but the next one might be beautiful and might be great. And we know that when we come on defense, we're going to make it really hard for the offense. So I feel good going into Saturday.
The Lynx will take on Spruce Mountain on Saturday at 7 p.m. In Lincoln, Max Sturm, ABC 7 and Fox 22 Sports. As the basketball season winds down in Maine, spring sports begin, and Husson University lacrosse is officially back. Let's take a look at how the season opener went for the Eagles in Bangor on Thursday. The Eagles opened up at home when they took on the University of Southern Maine and the Huskies. Let's start in the first. Husson's Kieran Field picks off the Huskies' pass. He's going the other way. He's got the speed. He's got the man advantage. He gets into the offensive zone and feeds to Gabe Robinson. He fakes, steps right, loads up, fires, and scores on the bouncer for the first goal of the season. A few minutes later, Eagles with it again. Dominic Hollenkamp and Taylor Swalge pass around. Hollenkamp gets it back, rips a shot, and finds the net. 2-0 Eagles. Third quarter, Alec Dupree crosses in front and lets one fly. He's got it. This is his third of the game, but the Huskies start to fight back. Caden Manning takes advantage of this one-on-one, rides the crease to the front of the net, and brings the score closer. But then a wild play in transition. Owen Giorgio with the long pole fires from deep and snipes the back nylon. Eagles go on to win 12-8. We now kick it up I-95 to Orono, where the Maine women's basketball team took on the U-Albany Great Danes for a chance at the 2 seed. This game was crazy, so we'll start in the third quarter. Adriana Smith and Layla Woods will run a little give and go. Smith gets it off the pass and lays it in for 2. End of the third quarter here. Woods gets her chance, and she's left wide open in the corner. She's lethal out there, and she proves it with this triple. But in the closing minutes of the fourth, Albany makes a run. Martina Borealis pulls a 3 of her own, and she sinks it back to a 5-point game. She'll get 3 more points when she drives coast to coast and puts up a shot with contact and puts it through the iron. 2-point game. And then a chance at the lead. Delaney Hill spots up, fires, and she's got it. Great Danes lead with 11 seconds on the clock. Black Bears will have one more chance. Smith gets it. She has the shot. She misses it, but then collects her own board, throws up a prayer, and it falls. Absolutely unreal. Maine holds on. They win 60-58 and will have a shot at the 2 seed this Saturday versus Binghamton. With tourney season coming to a close, we also look ahead to later this year when the Maine Basketball Hall of Fame holds their yearly induction in August. And recently they have released 9 names for the class of 2026, and here are some of the notable ones. We'll start out with Deering standout Mr. Former Maine Basketball Player of the Year and Gatorade Player of the Year in Nick Canner Medley. He would go on to play at the University of Maryland and have a successful 16-year career overseas. Next, we have the head coach of the Madomic Valley Boys, Nick DePatsy. DePatsy has coached for 35-plus years, surpassing over 400 wins. His teams have been a mainstay in the regional final games. Lynn McGoldrick Hassan, who was a former Maine women's basketball player, is a 2-time All-State honor, and she has also coached at South Portland while her daughter coached at Portland. We end with Christy Royer-Willette, who is an all-time leading scorer for Lewiston High School and would go on to be a standout at Bowdoin College. For the rest of the list and the inductees, go to MaineBasketballHallOfFame.com. That's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
What happens when our kids grow up talking to AI instead of real people? When their teacher is a chatbot, their counselor an algorithm? AI is being designed to replace us, but it doesn't share our values, and the companies building it don't know how to make it safe. Learn more at protectwhat'shuman.org.
Family owned and operating in the Bangor area for more than 10 years. Crosby's Welding is here to help you. We specialize in steel, stainless steel, and aluminum welding and fabrication. We serve many of the local industries from Maine lobstermen to the commercial trucking industry and everything in between. Fully mobile on-site construction services right down to custom signs and fire pits. Fast, friendly, reliable service. Give us a call today for a free estimate, 974-7815.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
There are so many fun things to do in Maine. Now you can enjoy more for less. Check out half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
Come to the Beer Garden in Skowhegan, where classic German dishes meet Maine flavor. A place for friends and family to unwind and enjoy live music along the Kennebec with 16 taps, wine, and cocktails. There's something for everyone. The Beer Garden. Eat well, drink well, and gather often.
There's a limited supply available. It's on sale right now. Save with half-off deals from foxbangor.com.
From clinics to classrooms, even in therapy and romance, AI is being designed to replace us. But the most important intelligence is human. It's the values we pass down and the connections we make with one another. That should never be replaced. Learn more at protectwhat'shuman.org.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, we have some special guests joining us today to tell us about a special wellness marketplace that's going to be taking place in Bangor soon. We're joined by Jordan Brooks, and you are the owner of Eventful Maine?
Yes.
Is that it?
With my mother.
With your mom?
Jen Brooks.
Jen Brooks.
Yes.
We know Jen well. Tell Mom I said hi, by the way.
I will.
Also, Haley Spocks, and you are the owner of Locks by Spocks.
Yes.
You have your own salon somewhere.
Yes, I do.
Where's your salon, by the way?
I'm located at 268 State Street, Bangor. So I have my own little suite.
Perfect. Let's start off with you. You kind of are one of the masterminds behind all this. How'd this all come about, this wellness marketplace?
So I own a little boutique called Pine and Palm Company. It's an online boutique. I do permanent jewelry and just sell like different jewelry, charms, sweatshirts, just little things like that. So I went to Haley, and when she moved back to Maine, and I said, do you want to do a pop-up together and kind of promote your business and get some good clientele?
Right.
And she said, yes, let's do it. But then I also run an event planning business with my mother, and
which is called?
Eventful Maine.
Got to put that out there too.
And I went to her, and she's like, well, why don't we make this something bigger? And why don't we do something in the springtime that promotes women's wellness and health? And
that's great.
Yeah.
And so you've recruited some other
so
people.
we have about 24 vendors that will be there. Some people that will be selling things, some people that will be just promoting their services. But yeah, we're very excited.
Yeah. What's your part in all this, aside from helping to inspire it all?
Yeah, I've just been, like, we've went out to lunches talking about this event to kind of get, like, the word out for me to get more clientele since I moved back after many years and everything. And we just thought we could grow it bigger and bigger into something more, and, like, especially, like, being a woman, like, getting all together and making it happen. I think it's very important, and I think all of these women can get some good people and some good business out of this event for sure.
Good way to network, maybe learn about some things that you don't know about.
I'm excited to like network with these other women too that I haven't met before, and you know, who knows, maybe this can like happen again, you know? I think it's gonna be a great turnout for sure.
I hope so, yeah.
What are you excited about? What do you think this purpose is really gonna fill a need here? Channeling this information to people.
Right. I think it's like we were talking a lot how there's not much to do in that time of the year, and especially for these small businesses that are trying to get their names out, and like you have all these other like craft fairs and all this in the wintertime, and these markets and stuff like that, but you don't have anything in the springtime, so we're like, let's do something that gives everyone something to do.
Yeah, and who doesn't like learning about things to take care of themselves, including your hair, your makeup, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, and there's some fun things to do. There's some shopping, and
and I hear there's going to be talking about massage and things
like
that too.
Yes, there's a massage person that will be there, and she'll be doing like little massages there. I'm trying to think.
There's gonna be a little giveaways.
There's
and stuff
giveaways
like that.
at each booth. There are samples at each booth. There'll be an esthetician there that will be selling some of her products, Haley, and then we also have a personal trainer that will be there.
Yes,
we know.
So when and where? It's going to be at the Hollywood Casino.
Yes, it's going to be at the Hollywood Casino in their Epic Ballroom.
Okay.
So.
Is that coming up this weekend? Or?
It's on March 14th.
March 14th, okay.
Yes.
So mark your calendars for
11 to 3.
All right. Well, we will post this online too on our Fox Bangor page, so in case you want some more information on that. Is there a Facebook page or something people could go to if they want more information on this?
Yes, you can go to Eventful Maine's Facebook page, and we have the event right on there as well.
All right, sounds great. Well, this is a nice event that you guys are doing. Hopefully you'll do it again next year, and we'll have you back on here.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to see you both. Tell your mom I said hi.
I will.
All right, we're going to send back over to Devin now for a final look at that forecast.
Alrighty, Craig, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Old Town Redemption Center, now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Alrighty, here we go. A small craft advisory will be expiring this morning along the coast as wave heights will begin to back off moving forward. Let's check out the wave heights right now. Still a little bit active at around 3 to 5 feet, while further off towards the north and east, still a little bit higher according toward the contours. Further out towards sea, a little bit higher at around 7 to even 10 feet at this moment in time. Meanwhile, on land, very quiet out there, and we'll see a lot of sunshine today. You may notice some clouds further off towards the north. We have a little bit of energy into Canada at this point. You can see that right there. That will send some clouds into the northern parts of the state. Meanwhile, some activity in the southern U.S. causing some showers and thunderstorms to develop. But futurecast for us, here we go. Sunshine today. Some clouds to the north. Farther down toward the south, it tries to get some clouds going for us. Not out of the realm of possibility, but otherwise mostly clear overnight. As we head towards tomorrow, the winds pick up. We'll have clouds passing through. Slight chance for rain and snow throughout the afternoon period. On Saturday, it will not be a huge deal. We'll get that out of here pretty quickly, and then by Saturday night, some more clouds passing through, but otherwise, again, not a huge deal. Wind will not be a huge problem today or tonight, but tomorrow the winds will be picking up. We'll have gusty winds picking up to about 30 to even 35 miles per hour at times, so definitely a windy one as we move forward by that time period. But for today, we have low 30s. Enjoy that sunshine today with that light southwest breeze at about 5 miles per hour. Overnight, 17 degrees. Will be partly cloudy with that south wind at about 5 miles per hour. And then we move ahead towards tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a slight chance for rain and snow. And then that southwest wind at about 5 to even 10 miles per hour. Okay, let's check things out with your extended forecast. And again, Friday, again, mostly sunny, highs in the low 30s. And again, tomorrow we'll start off with that southwest wind at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Really getting windy with that gusty wind up to around 35 miles per hour later on, with a slight chance for rain and snow, boosting temperatures into the mid 40s, upper 20s coming up Sunday with a chance for snow. Monday, mostly sunny. And then Tuesday, another chance for snow.
Bring your new kitchen to life with help from the Kitchen, Bath, and Flooring Division by Hammond Lumber Company. Bring in your ideas or get inspired by Hammond's extensive showroom displays. Your Hammond sales rep will help you create a materials list and cost estimate, and Hammond's designers will help you visualize your space before the work begins. And Hammond delivers from 34 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Your new kitchen begins when you bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner.
What matters more? A bank with innovative products or one that cares for the community? At Bangor Savings Bank, we think it's both because our innovation helps customers build stronger credit, earn rewards when shopping local, give teens independence and financial experience, and simplify business with local solutions. So what matters more? You.
When lives are on the line, they don't hesitate to run towards danger. Unfortunately, the same gear that protects them from deadly flames can be hazardous to their health. Senator Susan Collins to the rescue. Susan helped introduce legislation that protects firefighters and first responders from cancer-causing forever chemicals in their equipment. Because their job is dangerous enough. Call Senator Collins and thank her for protecting Maine's first responders.
Think you're good at trivia? Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals by weight.
I have no idea.
Congratulations, you have built the perfect line. I'm Deborah Norville, and this is the perfect line.
Onion rings before, in between onion rings and pizza.
Definitely after. This is what happy looks like.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
One airport's playful pajama ban sparks a wave of online controversy. Tampa International Airport in Florida announced its new pajama ban on Thursday. The airport's social media post claimed it had, quote, seen enough and the madness of airport pajamas stops today. But while travelers took to the comments to either celebrate or criticize the airport's decision, it turns out the highly controversial post, well, it was simply a joke. Airport officials told Fox News that they regularly upload lighthearted and satirical content to the airport's social media channels to help increase engagement. The post was nothing more than a playful nod to recent travel fashion debates. The airport says it, quote, encourages passengers to travel comfortably, adding it appreciates those who also enjoy some online humor as well. So if you're traveling through Tampa, feel free to wear your PJs on the airplane. They won't have a problem with it. All right, that'll do it for this hour. We thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a great weekend. We'll be back here on Monday morning. In the meantime, have a wonderful day.